Good evening, folks. I see that many of you remember last week when I was a stickler and I made you move up closer to the front. Good job. I didn't even have to say it tonight. Didn't even have to give a look. Somebody just did it. So welcome to worship on this day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm going to invite Mike and Sam to come up and grab the offering plates. We'll go ahead and grab our offering right here at the beginning as we share in a few announcements. As per usual, check your bulletin. Make sure you have the correct date. It should be March 22nd. Do we have any incorrect ones? Our streak continues, folks. We have not had an incorrect date yet this year. I am so proud of everyone. That's great that you've got that. You should also have your copy of Holden. That will be our musical selection that we'll share in. A reminder on the way out after worship to leave that one in the box in the back so we can continue to reuse those. This is our second to last Wednesday evening. The season is flying right on by, and so after tonight we will have one more Wednesday a week from tonight in which we'll have the same schedule with dinner at 6 and worship at 7 as we wrap up this portion. Then we'll move into Holy Week the week following, that first week of April. Just kind of a reminder of what's going on for our evening activities through that week. Monday, Thursday on April 6th, we will have a brief communion service that's really aimed at our fifth grade families in the celebration of their communion instruction and first communion, but that is open to anyone. Anyone can come and participate in that if you so choose. That will be starting at 7:30 on the 6th. So that's a little out of the ordinary in terms of our start time, but that's to accommodate for everyone to be there. Then on Good Friday, we'll have our worship at 7 o'clock for the tail end of Holy Week. But reminder, no dinners those 2 nights. So if you show up an hour early for dinner, you might be waiting a while until everyone else shows up. You may notice that my dialogue partner is strangely absent this evening. Vicki is not with us. She felt the need to go to a birthday party for a granddaughter. I mean, come on. So, is anyone feeling brave tonight? No, I heard it. Okay, we have some options. Either if someone feels really brave in a few more minutes, they want to come up here and chat, you can. Or I can just kind of rattle an off-the-cuff message. Think about it. We'll see what happens here in about 15 minutes. Sound good? Okay. All right. Well, with that, we are going to go ahead and join in our opening portion of Holden Evening Prayer, beginning on page 2. Jesus Christ, you are the light of the world, the light no darkness can overcome. Stay with us now, for it is evening, and the day is almost over. Let your light scatter the darkness, and shine within your people here. Joyous light of heavenly glory, loving glow of God's own face, you who sing creation's story, shine on every land and race. Now as evening falls around us, we shall raise our songs to you. God of daybreak, God of shadows, come and light our hearts anew. In the stars that grace the darkness, in the blazing sun of dawn, in the light of peace and wisdom, we can hear your quiet song. Love that fills the night with wonder, love that warms the weary soul, love that bursts all chains asunder, set us free and make us whole. You who made the heaven's splendor, every dancing star of night, make us shine with gentle justice. Let us each reflect your light. Mighty God of all creation, gentle Christ who lights our way, loving Spirit of salvation, lead us on to endless day. May God be with you all, and also with you. Let us sing our thanks to God. It is right to give God thanks and praise. Blessed are you, Creator of the universe. From old you have led your people by night and day. May the light of your Christ make our darkness bright. For your word and your presence are the light of our pathways, and you are the light and life of all creation. Amen. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. O God, I call to you. Come to me now. Oh, hear my voice when I cry to you. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. Keep watch within me, God. Deep in my heart may the light of your love be burning bright. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. All praise to the God of all, creator of life. All praise be to Christ and the Spirit of love. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. I invite you to join together in our responsive reading from Psalm 25 as printed there in your bulletins. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. They will abide in prosperity, and their children shall possess the land. My eyes are ever toward the Lord, for God will pluck my feet out of the net. Relieve the troubles of my heart, and bring me out of my distress. May integrity and uprightness preserve me. An angel went from God to a town called Nazareth to a woman whose name was Mary. The angel said to her, "Rejoice, O highly favored, for God is with you. You shall bear a child, and his name shall be Jesus, the chosen one of God Most High." And Mary said, "I am the servant of my God. I live to do your will. My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through. Great and mighty are you, O Holy One. Strong is your kindness evermore. How you favor the weak and lowly one, humbling the proud of heart. You have cast the mighty down from their thrones, and uplifted the humble of heart. You have filled the hungry with wondrous things, and left the wealthy no part. Great and mighty are you, O faithful one. Strong is your justice, strong your love. As you promised to Sarah and Abraham, kindness forevermore. My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through. Our scripture lesson for this evening, a little bit shorter than the last ones that we've had, comes from Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Again, Jesus entered the synagogue, and a man was there who had a withered hand. The religious elite watched Jesus to see whether he would cure him on the Sabbath so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come forward." Then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. He looked around at them with anger, and he was grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. Then the Pharisees went out and immediately conspired with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. Okay, anybody feeling brave? Anyone? Anyone? I could pick on someone. See, Laverne, come talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. Want me to just kind of rattle something off? Okay. Jay, come on up. Oh, good. Well, thank you, Jay.
You're welcome, I think.
And we're done. Okay. Okay, well, so we've been talking in past weeks, various stories about times when we see God seemingly having what would best be described as an emotional reaction to something that is happening in the world. And as we've gone on, we started with the story of Noah and the flood. And in that, God's grieving, God's anger, God's sorrow for the state of the world affects the whole world. And from there, we moved on to Moses and God on the mountain while things were going a little haywire down the mountain. And that was aimed more at a culture, a nation. They weren't a nation yet, but they were a large group of people. And then last week, we talked about King Manasseh, who was one of the kings of the southern kingdom of Judah, and how God got a little perturbed with him, and also with the people who had followed his lead, but kind of still that same thing. And now we've moved into the New Testament, and we see our story is focused in on Jesus and his perhaps very human emotional response.
Yes.
So what thoughts do you have initially as we think about this idea?
Well, just the way you went through all the things we've talked about. And I thought, here's Christ, who is God and man. He's human. Why should we be surprised when he exhibits some of the feelings that we have sometimes? I mean, is it wrong to get angry? Must not be, because Jesus did. But he was angry with the people because of their hardened hearts.
Yeah, so the basis for this tension seems to be similar to the story that we actually heard Sunday in worship. If you weren't here on Sunday, we had the man who was born blind, and Jesus heals him, and there's this whole ongoing ordeal in that. But the tension with that one was also that Jesus healed on the Sabbath. And we have the same situation here where his opponents, for lack of a better word, are tripping over the idea that it's unlawful to do work, and healing would be work, on the Sabbath when the command has been to do no work.
Yes, and he also made mud. That's real work. Healing is good, but making mud on the Sabbath must be even worse.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Oh, okay.
But accurate. So it's interesting. Vicky pointed something out. I think it was the first night that, or maybe it was the second night, that God repented of humanity, which even now 4 weeks later, my mind is still kind of blown at that idea. But we oftentimes hear in the story of Noah that God grieves the state of the world and the state of humanity. And I thought it was interesting that we had that same language here tonight, that Jesus he's mad, he's a little PO'd, but he's also grieving the state that these individuals find themselves in. And because they seemingly would rather keep this guy, this individual in a life that lacks fullness because of his malady, than to set him free on that. And that's kind of the basis for the whole story that we had.
It was almost like a setup.
It kind of was a setup.
They might have invited him in on the Sabbath.
They probably did.
So that they could catch Jesus, because they're waiting
Yeah.
to see what he would do.
Yes, and we know that continues. Their little snippiness behind the scenes continues to ramp up throughout the course of the gospel. So you made a point a minute ago that I appreciated a lot when you talked about Jesus' human emotional reaction and how we share in that. And I think that's an important thing for us to remember. For me, it stems, or I don't know if it stems from the idea or if it's evidence of the idea that we are made bearing the divine image. And we've had these different stories of God having emotions, and now Jesus does. And next week we'll have another story where Jesus has another emotional reaction. And should that make us feel a little better about ourselves? What do you think?
Well, I think about Jesus and the Pharisees, and it says, he was grieved at their hardness of heart. And then he did the miracle. Mm-hmm. Stretch out your hand. He stretched it out, and it was restored. Now, the Pharisees there were priests and Pharisees, or Sadducees and Pharisees. The Pharisees were the lawyers, really. And I think they were more political than the other groups. And so they're worried about their station in life. And here's this guy that's stirring everything up and doing everything different than the law says. And he's doing good, and they're still hardening their hearts against it because they're scared.
Yeah. Do you think that stems from perhaps I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, blame the day job. I tend to do that. But do you think that stems from this is our understanding of how we're supposed to practice our faith? And it has to fit in these boundaries. And Jesus is kind of blowing those boundaries up. And Lord knows we probably have the same situations at times too, when it's like, oh God, what are you up to on that? I don't know about that. And maybe we have an equally hardness of heart that happens at times too.
Oh yes. Sometimes people come into your church and they do things different.
No.
Yes.
Why are you looking at me?
We've never done it that way. Takes us a long time to get used to it.
I saw, that makes me think, I saw something on Facebook the other, just a day or two ago, and it's a meme, and memes are supposed to be humorous. And one person looks angry, and it says, Jesus, stop loving the people that we don't love. And he says, I'm just going to love them all the more harder now. And I think that's what Jesus did. He came to save the world from the state that the world was in, and humanity. And doing so from a place of God's love, but also experiencing the very real human experiencing the experience. That sounds dumb. Just experiencing the life like we do, and sharing many of the same traits that we do, and then that's vice versa. We share traits with Jesus, and that's good news.
Yes, but the big difference is he never sinned. He did what we cannot do, and that's why we're redeemed.
Yes, bingo. And Jay just wrapped up the gospel for you. The gospel of the Lord. Questions, comments? We want to throw it back out to you. Something you're wondering about. Or did we cover the bases? No? Who created the Sabbath?
God himself, or was it the people?
Well, we hear that God rested on the seventh day and did no work, unless you count inventing naps. No? Okay, bad joke. The idea of Sabbath comes from God resting on the seventh day and declaring that good for reality. So I guess God created the Sabbath, but what does Jesus say? Is Sabbath made for man, or just man made for? I forget exactly what it is. I should really know that. You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I know which one you're talking about, and I think he might have asked it as a question.
Probably.
Did God make the Sabbath for man, or did God make man for the Sabbath, or
That sounds
something
better
like
than
that?
the way I said it. Yeah, but I think that the Sabbath was, if we want to use the word created, or was established by God as a gift for the world and everything in it. Because we hear about not only the seventh day being the Sabbath, but the Sabbath years. Every seventh year was supposed to be when you leave the ground fallow and you let it rest for a year. And then there's the year of Jubilee, which is every seventh year. And I mean, it kind of goes on and on and on and on. So I think it's a gift from God for the world. Good. God can change God's mind whenever God feels like it. Yeah. Okay. Good question. Any other questions? Crickets. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jay.
Oh, you're welcome.
We will wrap up with the final blessing found on the back side of Holden. Let us bless our... Oh, that was horrible. That was bad. We'll try that one again. Let us bless our God. Praise and thanks to you. May God Creator bless us and keep us. May Christ be ever light for our lives. May the Spirit of love be our guide and path for all of our days. Amen. Go in peace, serve the Lord.